Well, hey there. Just thought I'd show you my next painting that I'm just finishing up. This one is frankly a bit of a color splash. Um, it's a I took this photo when a friend and I were in South Dakota in the Black Hills at an art fair, and we got up and it had snowed, and someone had leaned their bicycle against the building, and it had about 4 inches of snow on it. So I thought that was a hoot. Anyway, um, I wanted to show you the last step that I do, which is the batiking of the painting. So this is the part that always just gives me the willies. I think it's the most incredible thing in the world to do to a painting. But you actually pick it up and you crumple it into a ball, which is almost sacrilegious. In fact, it is sacrilegious. But that's how you get the spider webs of lines through the painting. And so then when you apply the last little bit of watercolor paint, I shake off the excess wax here, and then I look to make sure I haven't accidentally exposed any bare paper, because I really don't want the paint to go down into the paper. I want it to sit on top of the wax. One of the things, I mean, obviously we all know oil and water don't mix. Well, wax and watercolor don't mix either. So that means that in this final process, you wind up with the paint, the little droplets, they bead up on the surface. And so it kind of sits there. And then what you need to do, once you've finished sort of patching any suspect areas with the hot wax, is you then come over the whole thing. Usually a painting is a lot lighter than this. Typically my paintings are much more light, and then a few dark areas for accent. This one is quite dark, and so the watercolor paint that I'm going to be using here, I want to show you this color. It's really kind of a neat color. I actually bought some paint. I was getting bored with my blues, and so I bought these really vivid turquoises and blues and so on. And so I'm going to just, you can see here that it, come on, it just kind of beads up. And because so much of this is so dark, it's not necessarily, a lot of the beads of color aren't necessarily going to show when I get it all batiked and then the wax ironed out. They aren't going to show necessarily over these darker areas, but they will show over I gotta break these beads up. For some reason, this is really leaving large clumps, beads of paint water, and I don't necessarily want that. One of the things that I look to do with this is to pick a color that will kind of unify the entire painting so that it all looks of one piece. And so I'm using this blue, turquoise blue, in order to do that, because I think it kind of picks up some of the colors that are already in here. Okay, so yeah, that didn't take long, because unlike a lot of other ones, there isn't a whole lot of surface to cover. Then, because eventually I'm going to iron all the wax out to get back down to my painting, you have to then put melted paraffin wax over these beads of watercolor paint, and you can hear it sizzling when I get the when the water is still on my brush and it goes back into the hot wax over here, you can hear it sizzling and burning off. But what you do by waxing again like I am, I'm holding those beads of color in place so that when I iron, the heat of the iron will actually drive these dots of color down into the painting. And so that is part of then what gives it that batiked look, if you will, is that those, instead of evaporating off when you iron the painting, or drying off before you get it to the iron, I'm able to keep these dots and beads of color in place so that I can take advantage of the fact of adding that little touch of color in these different places that kind of unifies the entire painting. So basically, it doesn't take long with a smaller painting. You should see me on some of these big paintings. I can spend a couple hours just ironing all the wax back out of a really big piece. So I usually wait until I have some sort of program on TV that I don't have to be glued to the TV to watch. I can kind of listen to it, and then I have something to entertain me while I'm doing all that ironing. Because as we all know, ironing is not that much fun. So anyway, okay, I think I've got that pretty well covered. I want to hold this up for you just so you can see, although the wax may make it kind of hard to see the painting through all that wax, but we'll try it. Yep, got a couple spots over here I have to catch. Okay, so this is the final batiked piece, and once I get it ironed out, then I can mount it on watercolor paper to give it additional support, and it will be ready to frame. Thanks for watching.